The 6-3 Chicago Bears, aka the Monsters on the Midway, will try to make it 7 wins on the year as they'll face the hapless New York Giants on the lakefront in the cold, frigid Soldier Field on Sunday. In basketball, the Chicago Bulls are back to their winning ways after defeating the Philadelphia 76ers at the UC earlier this week. Will the good times continue against Milwaukee in their second iteration of the NBA Cup game? We'll give you our predictions coming up. LaKeena college football has gone by too fast. We got pretenders and we have contenders. Pretty above average slate this weekend. We'll give you our previews and predictions coming up. And we have the return of our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, with our weekly NFL picks. Will we see another week of wildly upsets, or will the contenders get back to their winning ways? That and a whole lot more is the hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled edition of Second City Sports, the hashtag Football Friday version. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Christine Manika, which is she. I am Cindy Brown here. You know it's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
You know, unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion, do not 2 hours extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You definitely got to hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to be a boot.
Toodles.
Up before we begin, shout out to our live game. That's LIVE Live Entertainment Game. That's checking us out right now. Live in the living color on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels at 12:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. But let's not forget much love to the replay game checking us out on the replay, also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto where we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
We'll be by you with some of the best here on Second City Sports as our first show for November kicks off. Here we got our buddy Ryan Field from ABC7 in New York City to preview Bears Giants and the very, very busy sports scene out in the Big Apple. Our girl Christine Manika from KXRB will also be joining us as well with our Week 10 NFL pick'ems. Some sports media news, as there are some changes at the top for, as you kind of expected from Fox Sports and so much more. Alexander Ovechkin reaches another milestone. And we got college football. We got a few more weeks left in the season. Jesus, it's going by too quick. And we'll tell you we'll have the schedule there for you and so much more. But first, Sid, the second week of the NBA Cup starts tonight, and the Bulls, well, they got a nice win, edging out the Sixers.
Number 2.
Yep. 113-111. The Sixers beat the Sixers. The Bulls beat the Sixers, I should say, on Wednesday. They are now in 6-1. They face the Bucks, who actually playing very well. No word yet on if Giannis is going to play tonight, but I'm sure we'll probably have that update for you throughout the show. But I gotta say, Sid, I mean, I actually been able to watch a little bit of that Sixers game, and I have to say the Bulls actually look like a cohesive team, dare I say? I mean,
yes.
It's kind of weird saying that because, the last few years has been, this and that and all the weirdness and stuff. But look, they looked good. Look, they outscored the Sixers 29-16 in the fourth quarter. They went on a big fourth quarter run to put that game away. 29 points from Giddey. You had 14 off the bench for Jalen Smith and 19 from Vooch and 10 rebounds for him. Isaac Okoro had 16. So a nice, good team, a good team performance by the Bulls, and now they, like I said, they're trying to go 2-0 on the NBA Cup against the Giannis and the Bucks tonight.
Yeah, shout out Stacey King. He had to remind some of you guys of the Elizabeth reference that he did after the game the other night on his social media channels. But back to the 6-1 Chicago Bulls. As we talked about at the start of the season, the Bulls needed to get off to a good start. Well, they off to the best start they had in about 4 years, and as you mentioned, they are playing very well in terms of team basketball. Six guys in double figures, as you mentioned. Vucevic decides to get hot at the right time, hitting that game-winning three-pointer. The one person I am impressed with, and I'm glad the Bulls brought him back. We talked about it in our preview show a little bit over a month ago now. That's Trey Jones. He had another.
Mm-hmm.
He did not contribute scoring-wise, but he had another three-steal performance. And we talked about the Bulls defensively as a team and not playing well recently. And a big part of it is Ayo Dosunmu's injury status. He's been out the last couple of games, but you're starting to see guys knowing their roles and playing their parts to perfection. And they're doing this without Kobe White. I think he's near a return soon within the next week or two, and they'll definitely help this Bulls roster. And, of course, the return of Ayo Dosunmu if and whenever he gets back. But for the guys that have on the floor, I'm very impressed with Trey Jones. You mentioned Josh Giddey. He's a Mr. Walker triple-double. Is he a superstar? No. Is he a player in this thing for the Bulls to go forward? Yes. And that money that he signed in the offseason, which took a long time, but so far so good, it's been justified. And forget about Isaiah Okoro LaKeena coming in being that defensive stopper. It's mentioned a second ago. It's Trey Jones, and I'm loving this thus far.
Yeah, he had that nice steal off of, I believe it was Maxey, who had a nice showing there, 39, tying a career high for him. And, for me, I would say, look, when Bush hit that hit would end up being the game winner. Look, Stacey better be careful because that's how Red Fox really passed away. So let's I'm just I'm just putting it out there because I'm just putting it out there. But Google's your friend for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about here. But like I said, I mean, look, the Bulls, like I said, I mean, they're playing like competent team basketball, and I think that's really been helping them so far this year. Look, I'm not going to say they're going to be the favorites in the Eastern Conference. I'm not going to say that. They're going to be up there with your Knicks and your Cavs. But look, I think they could be in that second tier, I feel like. And look, you think of points in the paint, 58 points, they outscored 76, 58 to 46. You also had fast break points, which has been a problem for them. That's actually been the one that's kind of like the really consistency. They actually have outscored teams in that fast break points department, 31 to 18 in this game against the Sixers. So I would say, look, like I said, can they keep it up? It's going to be hard because you're facing a Milwaukee team where you've actually had some good success against. So, like I said, we don't know if Giannis is going to play. I know Giannis has been in and out the lineup. He had a nice buzzer beater earlier this week. We'll talk about that in a second. But I feel like this is sort of like a nice where it gets a little bit tougher. They play Milwaukee and then they play tomorrow. They got to play Cleveland. So those are going to be some tough games. Also San Antonio too. So this is where I guess we'll see if the Bulls really are for real.
You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena here with you on a hashtag Football Friday edition of the program. We're discussing the Chicago Bulls and a little bit of the NBA, and to open up this segment of the open up our show, just to finish up on the Bulls. Yeah, Patrick Williams here. He didn't have a nice game the other night, but my guy Jalen Smith picked up the slack with 14 points and 4 rebounds in 7 minutes. I like the way that he's been playing. He was my guy last year. The guy he doesn't get a lot of headlines, but he comes in and does the dirty work. He's improving his outside shot, and you've seen that in bits and pieces here this year. But he's the guy that I'm liking to get so far this year. Manas Buzelis, he struggled. Only 10 points, 5 rebounds, but you could tell that he wants to be that guy. Am I anointing him the superstar? No. Could he be a star? Potentially. I think he will average over 20 points a game this year. I know Kendall Gill, the Bulls TV analyst, said last year, I know many Bulls fans wanted this team to get Cooper Flag. He says, no, we have our own Cooper Flag as Manas Buzelis, and I believed him then, and I definitely believe him now. So we'll see how Manas does tonight against Milwaukee, and like you say, in Cleveland tomorrow. And transitioning to the games this weekend, as you mentioned, 3 games in the next 4 days, a back-to-back. Playing Milwaukee tonight. I believe you go to Cleveland tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. What do you expect out of this Bulls team tonight? You're playing 2 division rivals, even though division matchups don't matter in the NBA anymore. Haven't mattered since Jordan and the Bulls, but that's a whole nother issue. Do you think the Bulls have a chance to at least split here? Because my prediction, I think that Can they lose both these games? Sure, but the way that this team is playing right now, I will say this: they will not quit, and they will
Mhm.
fight you to the end. So, do I think they'll go 0-2 this weekend? No, I think they'll split.
I think they'll split as well. I think they might win tonight and lose again at Cleveland. I know Cleveland's been kind of like, I don't want to say a house of horrors, but I think they've lost. I think they lost like 4 of their last 6 in Cleveland, so or something
Hmm.
like that. So yeah, so I'm a little worried about that Cleveland that Cleveland game tomorrow, especially it's going to be the second game of back to back for them, so that might play a little bit of a factor here. But yeah, I think they will. I think they will win against Milwaukee tonight, even if Giannis doesn't play.
All right, and that's your schedule for the Bulls this weekend. Let's quickly, since we have a couple of minutes left, talk about the rest of the NBA. We had one game last night. It was the Suns over the Los Angeles Clippers, 115 to 102. But I want to touch on just a couple of games this week, LaKeena, that took place. The Spurs. Victor Wembanyama didn't have his greatest performance. The Lakers still without LeBron James. Luka Doncic dropped another 40 piece. They beat the Spurs at the center formerly known as Staples Center, 118 to 116. LaKeena, the Spurs fought to the end, but the Lakers, Maki Smart, RP Tom Hines. I don't know if you saw the play at the end there. The Lakers were leading by 2. Marcus Smart inbounds the ball, but he steps on the line. Rui
Yes, I saw
Hachimura
that.
is down on the other end of the court to put the game away, but Marcus Smart steps on the line, thus giving the ball back to the Spurs. The Spurs get a lucky call. Champagne for the Spurs steps up to the free throw line, misses 2 free throws, and the
Hmm.
Lakers walk out with the win. Like Keena, I don't know about you. The conspiracy theories are coming out now in some of these social media parts. The more that the Lakers keep winning, the lesser that LeBron James wants to play, and he's trying to orchestrate his return. What are your thoughts?
You got a little social media, right? Some of these people
I
got
know.
way too much time on their hands. Like, oh, they're just trying to win as much as they can. That way, LeBron doesn't have to put on his cape and come in and rescue the Lakers.
Hmm.
It just seems that's kind of silly. Now, back to the actual game for Luka. Luka has been kind of like holding down the fort with LeBron being gone. Also, Austin Reeves has been. He didn't have a great game on on Wednesday, but like you got other guys stepping up. You got Hachimura. Smart, despite that silly, boneheaded, whatever the hell that one was, he has 17 points. Like I don't think Reeves played. I don't think he played that game on Wednesday. But look, I think the Lakers, look, so they're 7-2. Look, they're holding it down for till LeBron comes back. I think that's all you can ask for there. Luka has actually he has scored or assisted on a 311 points in those 5 games. His 5 games this year that he has played. Remember, he didn't play a couple of those games. They were 1-1, but that's the most by any player over his first 5 games of the season in NBA history. So Luka's been doing his thing. Hachimura is doing his thing. So yeah, I think all the guys are stepping up. I know Reeves didn't play. I think he had a hamstring, so he didn't play on Wednesday. But he looked he's been looking really good too. So I think this is one of those days where look, the Lakers are look. Just imagine when LeBron comes back. The fact that they're doing this without LeBron is really not shocking, but it's nothing short of remarkable. So I think people need to kind of just chill with the whole conspiracy theories. I think y'all are crazy.
And let's give DeAndre Ayton some props too. He had a
Hmm.
very good performance the game before against Portland the other night, and he had a solid performance against the Spurs. So he's been stepping up his game too. So I know the Lakers picked him up this off season, so he's been doing a nice job. Just a couple of the games to pass off from Wednesday. The Nuggets get by the Heat in that rematch from 2 years ago in the finals, 122 to 112. The Portland Trail Blazers, Thiago Splitter. He has that team going on ever since Chauncey Billups got the boot due to the gambling ring. They beat the Thunder the other night,
I saw
121 to
that.
119. I had a sneaky feeling that maybe Portland could be one of those teams to maybe sneak into the play-in tournament. We still have a long way to go, but no one's giving them the attention, and they're playing very well.
And I think they don't mind that if you think about it. Yeah, they gave the Thunder their first loss of the season. Adija had 26 points. Drew Holiday, who of course he was traded from Boston, he has had a nice showing there. He had 22 points in that win, and Jeremy Grant had 20 in that upset win. So yeah, I think can they keep it up? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so far Splitter has been doing a good job keeping his guys focused and not they can't worry about what's going on off the court. They can just worry
Mhm.
about the on the court stuff. And so far they actually been able to do their thing. They're at 5-3.
Okay, just a couple of the highlighted games from earlier this week. We mentioned about the Giannis buzzer beater against Indiana on Monday. The Bucks beat the Pacers 117 to 115. That was a Miles Turner return game. The Pacers gave him a video tribute, which was awesome. Miles Turner didn't have a great game for Milwaukee offensively, but Giannis carried the day offensively for Milwaukee. He hit the game winner at the buzzer. The Jazz beat the Celtics 105-103. I think the Celtics is still going to be a good team. They're still trying to find themselves without Jason Tatum, but it's going to be a struggle for them, I believe, through the first month, maybe perhaps month and a half of the season. The Knicks beat the Wizards as expected. The Mavericks, they lost a couple in a row this week. They lost to the Rockets on Monday, and then Wednesday they lose by 2 to the New Orleans Pelicans without Zion Williamson. What is going on down in Big D?
Yeah. I think they actually made a joke that this is the most losses Cooper Flags had. I think he didn't lose when he was in high school. He only lost 4 games. He was at Duke, and it's kind of interesting. Yeah, look, we'll see. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that one. But yeah, I think Dallas is going to be one of those teams where you're just like, okay, yeah, what's going on there? But like I said, I think Dallas will figure it out. But yeah, they need to figure out quick. AD has to stay consistently in the lineup.
All right. Let's go down the schedule for this weekend in the NBA. Tonight is week 2 of the NBA Cup. Celtics and Magic, followed by the Cavaliers and the Wizards, the Raptors and the Hawks, the Pistons and the Nets. The first game of the NBA Friday Night Prime Video doubleheader will feature the Houston Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs. That's at 6:30 on Amazon Prime. That should be a good one there. Charlotte at Miami. Dallas will travel to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. John Morant. Oh boy, I'll leave that alone. Of course, you got the Bulls at Milwaukee to take on the Bucks. The Jazz at the Timberwolves. In the second game of that NBA on Amazon Prime doubleheader, Golden State and Denver at 9 p.m. That should be a fun one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, wrapping up tonight's schedule, NBA Cup play, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they'll try to rebound after the loss at Portland. They'll travel to Sacramento to face the Kings.
Definitely looking forward to that Golden State Denver matchup there. Saturday, tomorrow, you got Dallas and Washington. You got Toronto and Philadelphia. You got the Lakers continuing their East Coast trip against Atlanta. That should be an intriguing one at 7 o'clock on NBA TV. We talked about Bulls and Cavs, Portland and Miami, New Orleans and San Antonio, Indiana and Denver, and your ESPN Saturday night game in the late slate. You got the Suns and the Clippers.
All right, your Sunday schedule looks like this. Yes, even during football season, the Rockets will take on the Bucks. That's an early Sunday afternoon game at 2:30. Interesting time there. The Battle of New York, the Nets and the Knicks will get it on at MSG at 5 o'clock. Celtics will take on the Magic. Oklahoma City Thunder will visit Memphis. Detroit will visit Philadelphia. Indiana will start their West Coast road trip. They'll face the Golden State Warriors, who had a nice week this week. And the Minnesota Timberwolves will face the Sacramento Kings. And that's your schedule for Sunday and for this weekend in the National Basketball Association.
We're going to talk a little college football next year. Week 11, gosh, we only got a few more weeks left in the season. And we got some, and some interesting baseball news as both the Cubs and Sox made some interesting decisions with some of their pieces, and some free agents that be coming to the Windy City of either one of these teams. And just how much is Kyle Tucker going to get in the open market? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, college football and baseball coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe. But some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday. This year, locked and loaded in real life and living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
We're diving into the biggest games this weekend in college football and diving into some baseball talk as well for this segment. If you have any questions or comments for us, definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Excuse me. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up of the screen for you.
The first college football playoff rankings came out on Tuesday, and your top four, as I think we all kind of expected this: Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Florida, followed by Georgia, Ole Miss, BYU, Texas Tech, Oregon, Notre Dame, Texas, and Oklahoma. Then you got Utah, Virginia, Louisville, Vandy, Georgia Tech, Miami, USC, Iowa, Michigan, Missouri, Washington, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee. Those are your top five. And like I always say, I say this like every year since this thing started happening, these numbers are going to change. So don't need to get all miffy like, oh, why is this team so high or why is this team so low? So yeah, I think folks need to just chill and just let the games play out, because these next weeks there's going to be a lot of movement.
Yep, as they always has been, always will be at this time of year. Let's start with tonight's schedule. Tonight on FS1 at 7 o'clock, we'll have 7-2 Houston taking on UCF. Houston's favored by 1.5. I think Houston will win that one. It'll be a tough game on the road for the Cougars, but I think they'll win this one. Quarterback Mr. Connor Wakeman, 60 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions on the year. I think he'll have another big performance on the road. He needs to have one for Houston. 8 o'clock on Fox, the 5-3 Northwestern Wildcats will travel to Southern California to take on the 19th ranked Trojans. USC is favored by 13.5. LaKeena, can Northwestern's defense at least hang in there for a while?
I think they can. I think this is sort of like that front seven is actually really solid for Northwestern. So I think they can keep it going there for a little bit. But I think looking at the rankings for SC, they're still right there, even though they would a lot has to happen in front of them. A lot of teams have to lose in order for them to get back in that top part in the playoffs. So yeah, I think they should be able to take care of. I think Northwestern will keep it close for a little bit, but I think SC will pull away late.
We'll see what Northwestern's quarterback Preston Stone is made up to Caleb Komolafi. 608 rushing yards on the year off 124 carries and seven TDs. Those two, I think, is going to be key. They cannot. They got to once they get into the red zone, they got to punch it and settle for sixes, not for threes. But we'll see what happens tonight. And wrapping up tonight's schedule at 8:00 on ESPN. 6-2 Tulane will travel to Memphis to take on the 8-1 Tigers. Memphis is favored by 3.5 points.
All right, should we see Memphis? I think Memphis still have a shot. I mean, I think, like I said, that's going to be like outside the Power Five. So yeah, they still got a shot. Perhaps maybe sneaking into that playoffs. So we'll see what happens tonight as they face a tough Tulane squad. Now going into tomorrow, Saturday, your big news Saturday game. Well, I mean, this seemed like a good game, early in the season, but Indiana and Penn State, 11 a.m. on Fox, 14.5. Indiana's favored by. Do they go beyond that line, Sid?
Yes, they do. And here's why. We talked about the Heisman Trophy race on our last show on Monday. Fernando Mendoza is going to have another big game. I can see another 3 to 5 touchdown pass performance for Mr. Mendoza. He already has 25 of them on the year, next to 4 interceptions. And their star wide receiver, Omar Cooper Jr., 8 receiving touchdowns on the year. I can see him with a 2 receiving touchdown game. So Penn State, they're going to do a bunch of changes. So yeah, I can see another big performance by the Hoosiers on the road.
Now you got Georgia against Mississippi State down there. You got the cowbells will be going on down there at Starkville. So we'll see. Does Georgia? Do you think Mississippi State covers? Because they played teams tough this year, even though they had that, especially that one against Texas. It was just awful that comeback.
I think they make Georgia is the play here as far as picking winners are concerned. I want to see their quarterback Stockton, who's having a nice year. I want to see him step up and have, in my opinion, on the road.
Yeah, so should be able to see what Georgia does down there in Starkville. Now, the big game here, I will try to find a way to watch this game if YouTube doesn't get their and this doesn't get their stuff together. BYU and Texas Tech in the Big 12. You got game day will be down there. Pat Mahomes. Well, the Chiefs are on bye, so it makes sense. Pat Mahomes will be the guest picker for down there because, like I said, they're down. College game day is down there in Lubbock. It should be a good one here, and I see Tech is favored, and I kind of feel like, I think this is right. I think 10.5 might be a little bit much, but I feel like Tech is one of those teams where a lot of people aren't really talking about very much, and I think that look, probably one of the best running backs in the country that probably Cameron Dickey. He has 10 touchdowns already, 734 yards already this year, and it also their quarterback, Tech's quarterback, Baron Morton. He's been another one of those guys that hasn't gotten a lot of love this year. 15 TDs and 4 interceptions. So folks will finally get a chance to see this Texas Tech Red Raider squad against a very solid BYU squad. But I think Texas is just a little bit better, on the talent front.
Let's not forget about Caleb Douglas for Texas Tech, that star wide receiver. 41 catches on the year, close to 600 receiving yards and 4 receiving touchdowns. He could have another big game for them too. But on the flip side for BYU, LaKeena, watching them for a little bit over the last couple of years, we know they can put up points. LJ Martin, they star running back, 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. I expect him to have a big day. I'm going to put him out on the table, LaKeena. I think BYU goes in there in Lubbock and pulls out the upset. I know the totals is 52.5. I expect this to be a high-scoring game.
Definitely could be like first to 40. Might win that one. We'll see what happens. They're SMU and BC on AC Network. Colorado and West Virginia. That's gonna be the TNT game, also streaming on Max. 6.5 favor for West Virginia. Okay, I guess not. I guess they'll say that the Colorado won't cover.
As long as Colorado does as long as Colorado does embarrass themselves, I think that'll be a moral victory for them.
All right, Ohio State and Purdue at noon. 30.5 favor Ohio State is. That's what the Vegas line says. Ohio, that'll be on BTN. Ole Miss goes out of conference. They face the Citadel. Don't ask. Don't ask me why. Now going into you got Maryland and Rutgers. That's gonna be on FS1. Going into the afternoon games, Texas A&M and Mizzou in the SEC, or should I say the Fighting Mike Bermans and Josh Friedmans down there in Columbia. 6.5 favorite. The A&M is. Excuse me. You know that place is going to be rocking down there in Columbia. Do you think the Tigers have a shot?
I think they do have a shot only because Texas A&M has not looked good on the road these last few weeks.
Yeah.
And Missouri, they got to rely on their star running back Ahmad Hardy. He's been having a great year, close to 940 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. I think the Tigers going to have to keep it on the ground. On the flip side, Marcel Reed for Texas A&M. He's going to have to play much better than he has so far this year. I know overall he has 6 interceptions next to 17 touchdown passes, but he's going to have a big game, perhaps put the A&M offense on his shoulders, and also to watch out for Mario Craver, 4 receiving touchdowns off of 716 receiving yards. So Texas A&M, they're going to have to play much better on the road to get people's respect, because Missouri, I know people are looking at them like, they're good, but not that good. But Texas A&M, like I said, they've been struggling on the road the last couple of weeks. So if they cough one up here, I'm not going to say it may be the end of their college football playoff hopes, but it's going to take a major hit if they get upset by Missouri.
In Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City on CBS at the same time at 2:30, you got Oregon going on the road to face Iowa. They got Oregon favored by 6.5. Look, I know we say some weird things. Well, Halloween's over with, so it shouldn't be. I think Oregon should be upset a little bit because Iowa's defense is actually pretty solid, but they should be able to pull this out down there in Iowa City.
Yeah, Kamari Moulton will have to be the key star for Iowa. They start running back, only 2 rushing touchdowns on the year. Those numbers got to come up a little bit more. And I think on the flip side for Iowa's defense, you mentioned, they got to create some turnovers off of Dante Moore, the quarterback for Oregon. If you can sack him a couple of times, perhaps force a turnover or 2, I think Iowa can win this ball game. But CBS, as of right now, they're bringing the side relief. They'll actually get a competitive game. But I think Oregon will win it by a field goal here, but I think Iowa keeps this one close.
Max Llewellyn has 6 sacks for Iowa. He's been one of the big reasons why, that defense has been really solid for them. Miami, can they get back on track as they host Syracuse or the Dave Kerners, as we call them here, at 2:30 on ESPN?
I think they will, especially after losing the way they did at SMU last week. You kiss the ACC title game goodbye. Your college football playoff hopes are on life support at best. They're at home. They should be able to dominate.
All right, so these are not basketball matches I'm talking about coming up. We got Kansas and Arizona on ESPN2. No, it's not a college hoops matchup. They'll play each other till later next month. Duke and UConn. No, this is not a hoops matchup either. That 2:30 on CBS Sports Network. Neither is this one. Iowa State and TCU on Fox. We'll see if Vandy can bounce back as they host Auburn. That game is going to be on SEC Network. Washington, people finally giving them a little bit of respect. They go on the road to Camp Randall and face Wisconsin at 3:30 on BTN. Lou Fickell will be back as Wisconsin head coach. I'm leaving that alone. Stanford and North Carolina on the CW, WGN Channel 9 here in Chicago. Those of you scoring at home. Virginia will start to undefeated in the ACC as they host Wake Forest on ESPN. Louisville I think they're trying to stay together for the ACC title game as they host Cal on ESPN2. The Underachievement Bowl with this one as we go into the primetime, into the primetime games here. You got Florida State and Clemson on ACC Network. And, we'll see how LSU responds as they go on the road to face Alabama at 6:30 on ABC.
I think Ty Simpson is going to have another big performance for Alabama. You're facing a LSU squad that's going through some changes right now, even though they are 5-3 overall, 2-3 in conference play in the SEC. Ty Simpson, 20 touchdown passes to 1 interception this year. He's starting to gain confidence every week, and that's why he's one of the top 5 candidates for the Heisman Trophy. And also, too, Jeremy Bernard, the star wide receiver for the Roll Tide. 38 catches on the year, 526 yards receiving, and 6 touchdowns. I think he's going to have a big performance on this big stage.
All right, you got Navy going on the road for their annual matchup with Notre Dame. They got Notre Dame favored by 31.5, which is kind of, well, 27.5, I should say, which is kind of crazy because they had to they literally escaped by the skin of their teeth against Boston College, and they were very favored. I'm talking about Notre Dame, so I would stay away from this game. Just saying. That's going to be at 6:30 on ABC and Peacock, Florida and Kentucky. On the SC Network, you got Nebraska and UCLA. It's going to be a tough one for Nebraska with Riola gone for the year. UCLA, they got to win out to get into a bowl game, so they got to pick them at 1.5, 45.5. So we'll see what happens there. And to finish up, that's going to be on the Big Fox Network at 8 o'clock, that Nebraska UCLA game. And to finish off, you got Sam Houston and Oregon State on the CW, and San Diego State, which could probably sneak in, perhaps. And also they face Hawaii. It's going to be at 10 o'clock to finish up that schedule. All right, any thoughts before we move on, Sid?
Here with you. Let's transition over to baseball since we have a few minutes left before we close out hour number one. I know the White Sox made a couple of changes to their coaching staff, having a new pitching coach from Kansas City. Go figure there. And the Cubs, the Silver Slugger Award goes to Cal Tucker, who's now a free agent.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like this is third or fourth Silver Slugger Award. So I guess, and as we thought that they were, he might end up, he probably will move on. Now, $20 million to qualify an offer. He didn't take it, so he's probably going to see what's out there. Someone's going to pay him some money. I don't know who, but yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. The Shota Imanaga one is going to be interesting to me because Shota, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. Now they could be coming back, so we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll have to find out what happens there.
Yeah, first to Shota Imanaga, we saw who he was last year, LaKeena. After the injury, he came back. He was very good, but going down the stretch, you saw his issues, especially through the first 3 or 4 innings of his starts. Giving up home runs left or right. The control wasn't there. We saw that in the playoffs against San Diego. There was the only loss in that series, which the game he started in. And the game against Milwaukee, which he started in, he did not look good in that either. And that's why we kept stressing on this show this time last year, go get another start. Now, we didn't think that Shota was going to struggle this much. But you could, after what we saw in the playoff run this past season, he's not your number 2 guy. I know Justice Steele is expected to be back next year. I think James Taillon is coming back too. I don't know about Matthew Boyd. I think he's back next year. You correct me on that if I'm not. But you could clearly tell that from the playoff run this past year, Shota is not your number 2 guy. So I know Covers don't want to lose him, especially after the rookie year he had last year. But if he doesn't come back at a team-friendly price, then you have no choice but to let him go. But the Cubs' objective all season is to get another a starting pitcher or two, and perhaps get another bullpen arm.
Yeah, will they spend the money though? That's the thing. I mean, we figured that they were gonna that the Cubs were gonna get like $200-300 million. I guess that's what the thing was for maybe for Tucker. But we'll see if maybe they can bring Shota on as maybe a team-friendly deal, like kind of a. And I like Shota, but like you said, he kind of underachieved. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I think we'll see what Ricketts has in store. And will he actually let Jed spend? Now, were you surprised that the White Sox brought back Luis Robert Jr. and that for what, $22 million?
No. The reason why is this, because who do you have behind him if you would have let him go? It's not Brooks Baldwin. It's not anybody else who they have down there in the minor leagues. There's definitely nobody on this current roster that can replace her right now. So it was a no-brainer to bring Luis Robert Jr. back. I just hope that Chris Guest doesn't play this wishy-washy game. I'm gonna trade him today. I'm not gonna trade him today, and all this other BS. I think it's safe to say that unless a deal knocks his socks off, I'm talking about Chris Guest, that Luis Robert Jr. will be a starting center fielder on opening day when they face Milwaukee on March 26th. And and we talked about this for the last couple of years, LaKeena, that he's been injury prone, and that's too much of his chagrin. But what we saw in 2023, when Robert Jr. is healthy, he's a 5-tool player, hits home runs. Don't he cannot hit a slider after he trails behind 0-2. But what do I know? But he can definitely hit for average. He can hit for power. He plays a very good center field. He definitely has the glove for it. And he's a very good base stealer when he's healthy. So we see the potential in Luis Robert Jr. We've seen it in spurts that he's just got to stay healthy. But I'll say this. I know it's very early in this offseason, but if the White Sox as a team do not improve in 2026, does Chris Guest try to go to that well once again to try to trade him, assuming Luis Robert Jr. stays healthy, puts up great numbers?
Yeah, I think that's really going to be the thing here. What's going to be the plan for Robert Jr. as he comes back for injury? Real quick, I know we got a couple more minutes before the top, before Ryan Field from ABC 7 New York joins us. You have a list of some of the top free agents that might be coming to Windy City, one of the Windy City teams. Who do you have?
Not necessarily to the Windy City, but it may be some viable options more for your team than the White Sox. Cody Bellinger, we'll ask Ryan Field, our guy from New York, about some of these names in our kick it off on number 2. Maybe Dylan Cease is a possibility for the Southsiders. We'll see. Framber Valdez, the young left-handers in all of baseball in terms of starting pitching. Of course, Pete Alonso heads that list. Bo Bichette, who's just finished this year with the Toronto Blue Jays, he's a free agent. Alex Bregman, I know the Cubs didn't trust Bregman with that contract that he ended up signing with Boston. I don't know if that's a good option for the Chicago Cubs. He ain't definitely coming to the South Side. Just looking at some of the lists here, like I said, we'll go through it in more detail coming up on Monday. Lucas Giolito's a free agent. Obviously, he's not coming to Chicago nor either side of town. Maybe he's a better option for the Cubs and the Sox, but I don't see him coming back to the White Sox. Josh Naylor, like I said, we'll get into more in detail on Monday. But Josh Naylor, former Cleveland Guardian, he had a good run after he was traded to Seattle this past year. You know me, I want Pete Alonso. Realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. But Josh Naylor is not a bad consolation prize, given the lack of money that Jerry Reinsdorf probably wants to spend this offseason. He'll definitely solve your first base problem for sure.
Yeah, I'll say, he'd be perfect for your first base because you guys really don't have, the White Sox don't really have one right now. So I think he would be a good option.
No, they don't.
So I think he would be a good option for the White Sox there. So it's still young. It's still not old. He's still young enough. So he could probably, maybe you give him a nice incentive laden deal with a lot of incentives, so that maybe at some point, Jerry does pay him a little bit more to have maybe a part of this rebuild for the White Sox. The Bellinger one's fascinating. I know I've heard some Cubs fans say that they wouldn't mind him coming back to Chicago, but at what price? I think that's really going to be an issue, an issue there too. Like I said, we'll ask, we'll ask him more. We'll ask our buddy Ryan Field, about that. Could the Yankees probably bring him back too? So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun. That Second City Sports #Football Friday edition continues with Ryan Field from ABC 7 New York and our girl Miss Christine the Queen Manika. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again at IG.
As we kick off hour number 2, previewing the Chicago Bears and the New York Giants contest, along with discussing other New York sports teams with our very special guest coming up here in a second. If you have any questions or comments regarding that, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, as we wait, Ryan Field from ABC 7 New York to join us. He'll be here in a little bit. I know he's been having all right. Sorry about that, folks. I think he's having some technical difficulties getting in here. So we'll hopefully he'll be join us within the next minute or two. But this Bears game against the Giants is like I said, we talked about it for the last couple of weeks. I know the Giants. I mean, I don't want to say they're hapless, but the Giants are kind of like the Giants, if you will. And it's sort of interesting then to me that Jackson Dart hasn't really been the issue. He actually has been playing very solid, even without his two best receivers in, of course, Cam Scatterbo and Malik Neighbors. They're both done for the year. So, I think that really hasn't been an issue for them. But I think the defense has been kind of lost. So, I think the Bears defense, if they want to get that get-right game, this is a time to do it against a Giants squad with a rookie quarterback that's still kind of learning on the job.
Yeah, and you mentioned about all the turmoil going on with the New York Giants off the field too, with Brian Daboll perhaps being his last year, Joe Sheehan, the GM there as well. Of course, they're trying to get that ship righted with Jackson Dart, their rookie quarterback, who, like you said, who has not been the problem for this Giants team thus far. It's just that the defense has been underachieving all year, and plus they have injuries too. But like you said, everybody has injuries. No one's going to feel sorry for yourself. You still got to go out there and compete. So getting back to the Bears for just a second, all the performance they had last week against a Bengals team they're missing Joe Burrow. We'll see what happens this week as they're playing at home at Soldier Field against a team they should be able to take care of business against. We talked about Caleb Williams regressing the last couple weeks. He had a good game last week against Cincinnati. We'll see if he can build off of against this Giants defense. Statistically has been terrible so far this year.
All right. Well, we can talk more about this for our guest coming up right now. A good friend of the show. He's a top anchor over and sports report over at ABC7 in New York City. He's the one, the only, the fabulous Mr. Ryan Field. Ryan, how are you?
Sidney, LaKeena, what up? What up? How you guys doing?
Good. How are
What's
you?
happening, man?
Good. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but we got it all sorted out. We're ready to go. It's good to be here as always.
No, it's fine. Look, we get it. It happens. So yeah, so look, this Giants squad. I mean, like I said a minute ago, they're not middling, but they're not great. So Jackson Dart's actually been really solid. I think that's really about all we have here as far as the for the Giants go, because he can tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Jackson Dart has been a revelation, and he's everything that they thought he would be. And frankly, the reason why they traded back into the first round to get him in the NFL draft. And he had a nice 1-2 punch going with Cam Scadaboo, who was unfortunately lost for the season with that gruesome injury a couple weeks ago. But, even though this season is basically a lost cause, Giants fans at least know now they have their quarterback, they have a running back they can build around, and certainly a wide receiver, one of the best young wideouts in the league, in Malik Neighbors, who is also out for the season due to injury. So you really can't get a full give this team a full grade this year because of the injuries. And I know, Sidney, as you pointed out, listen, nobody's going to feel sorry for these guys, but the injuries are a reality of the situation, especially for a young team like this. And to be without two of your top three playmakers with a rookie quarterback, it's certainly going to hamper them the rest of the season. But at the very least, Brian Daboll will probably get another year because they won't be able to fully get a true grasp on what this team was capable of with all the injuries. So I think that has Brian Daboll probably feeling a little fortunate. But in the grand scheme of things, it's another lost football season for the New York Giants and their fan base, unfortunately.
Yeah, speaking of guys who are healthy, Ryan, for the New York Giants, let's go to the wide receiver room, because you mentioned Malik Neighbors is out for the year. Wan'Dale Robinson has had his nice moments here and there the last couple of years, but who else on that offense from the wide receiver standpoint that Bears fans should be looking for on Sunday?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a tough go of it, and their whole thing is they just don't have anybody that has been able to really step up and give stretch out defenses and give the big playmaking ability that Neighbors has brought to the table. But Sidney, I mean, you talk about the wide receivers, but to me, I think the bigger issue is the defense. And you talked about it a few moments ago, just really how disappointing that unit has been when you consider they have the Brian Burns and the Dexter Lawrence and the Kayvon Thibodeaux and what was supposed to be like a menacing Abdul Carter, the rookie out of Penn State, supposed to be a menacing defensive line. They just have not been able to get it going from that standpoint this season. And that, to me, has been, frankly, the biggest surprise, because everybody thought coming in that, listen, at least they could lean on their defense, given the playmakers they have on that side of the football. But it has been they're definitely ranked in the bottom third of the NFL in most defensive categories. And that, to me, has been a big surprise and frankly, a huge disappointment.
Talk about Brian Daboll's job security. I know there are a lot of folks out there in New York that want him gone. So, what do you think? I mean, finishing up the season, they're 2-7 right now. Do you see him being out the door by the end of the season?
Yeah, well, listen, like I said, I think because of the injuries, he might get a free pass, and that's not going to make Giants fans happy. They weren't happy when he and GM Joe Schoen got brought back for a fourth season. And frankly, the only explanation they got from owner John Mara was that he was tired of making all these changes all the time. He felt like it was just kind of like a round robin. They were just kind of almost musical chairs, if you will. They were just kind of doing the same thing over and over. And, it was a constant state of rebuild and starting over. So he wanted some sort of stability with the team. And, frankly, that explanation was not at all what Giants fans wanted to hear, because they're now 2-7 for the third straight year. And the results just haven't been there. Obviously, as we pointed out, injuries have played a factor in that. But at the end of the day, you have to look at Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, and Shane's drafting, for the most part, has not been great. Dable just now has finally found his quarterback. We saw the whole thing with Saquon Barkley, the way that unfolded on Hard Knocks, which was not a good look for the front office, the way that whole situation unfolded. So, the optics aren't great, guys. Let's be honest. The optics are not great. But that being said, I do think they find a way to come back for a 5th year, as crazy as that sounds.
Let's focus in on their opponent on Sunday, which is the Chicago Bears. They'll play them on the lakefront at high noon on Sunday. I don't know how much of the game that you watched with the Bears and the Bengals last week. It was a crazy one that Bears fans will remember.
Absolutely. One of the best finishes of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how much of the Bears that you watched thus far this year, but of the film that you watched of Chicago so far this year, what is your first impressions about Caleb Williams in year number 2, and of course, first-year head coach Ben Johnson?
Listen, being a lifelong Lions fan, I know all about what Ben Johnson brings to the table, and as much as the Lions hated to lose him, I thought that was a great hire for the Bears. He definitely has taken his lumps. Had taken his lumps early in the season. But I think, listen, it takes time to kind of build your foundation and kind of implement the culture that you want as a new head coach. And he's taken Caleb under his wings. And I thought that was a big moment for Caleb Williams on Sunday, given how that game unfolded. He made the biggest pass of the game when it needed to be made. And obviously, I think it was Loveland, the tight end, made the great move to get down into the end zone to win the ball game. But that's what you want to see from a young quarterback, is signs of growth. And I thought that was the ultimate sign of growth there for Caleb Williams. And, we saw what Ben Johnson did for Jared Goff, who's always been a solid NFL quarterback, had been to a Super Bowl with the Rams. But I thought Ben Johnson kind of took Jared Goff to the next level. And I think he certainly has the capabilities to do that with Caleb Williams as well. And if I'm a Bears fan, which is weird for me to even say that, but if I were a Bears fan, I would be very excited about that possibility.
Well, the run defense for the Bears has been, kind of a lot to be desired. So, Ty Tracy, how do you think he might fare against that Bears run defense?
Yeah, I mean, Tracy showed some signs last year, but this was basically Cam Scadaboo's job at this point, and Scadaboo was a battering ram. I think for the Bears defensive front, their bigger concern should be Jackson Dart making plays with his legs, because he's definitely shown the capability of doing that. In his first, I think, 5 starts, he's had 10 passing touchdowns and 5 rushing touchdowns, which had only happened like one other time in NFL history for a rookie quarterback to do that in his first 5 starts. So he has shown the playmaking ability from the quarterback position with his passing arm and with his legs. And I think if I'm the Bears defensive front, that to me is a bigger threat than the Giants run game at this point.
We hanging out with our guy Ryan Field, the sports director at ABC 7 in New York City, right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena here with you on the hashtag Football Friday, previewing Bears and Giants. Let's step away from that for a second, Ryan. Let's go to the other football team in town, and that's the New York Jets. Quentin Williams is out. Sauce Gardner is out via trades. The criticism of Aaron Glenn from many Jet fans thought that he should be fired. I thought it was a little bit out of line. Give us your thoughts about how Aaron Glenn has handled things on and off the field thus far in his first year as head coach for the game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Aaron Glenn stepped into arguably the toughest predicament in the NFL in terms of, lack of talent on the roster. You don't want to say a losing culture, but the Jets have done nothing but lose for the last decade. But the reason they brought him in here is because he was drafted by the Jets, was an all-pro with the Jets, knows the ins and outs of playing with that franchise, and, knows Woody Johnson and obviously the obstacles that come along with working for an owner like that. So I think Aaron Glenn, for all intents and purposes, has kind of handled this as well as he could, especially with a quarterback, as you guys know, being Bears fans, who cannot throw the ball down the field in Justin Fields. So, and that's what Woody Johnson said at the owners' meetings. Like, if we had a quarterback who could complete a pass, we wouldn't be so bad. So, which was kind of unusual for an owner to call out a specific player like that, but he was exactly right. But that just gives you an idea of the position that Aaron Glenn is in. And, they traded Sauce Gardner, they traded Quinnen Williams, and those were not easy decisions, but the draft capital they've gotten back now, they have 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks in April's draft, 3 first-round picks in 2027. So, yeah, you're giving away quality players in Sauce and Quinnen Williams, but listen, guys, they're 1-7 with those guys on the roster anyway, and they've been losing for the last several years with those guys on the roster. So it wasn't like they were, taking away from a position of strength, and that's really something they could hang their hat on. I mean, the defense hasn't even been all that great for the Jets. So it's one of those things where they took it as, listen, let's cut our losses, let's recoup some draft capital. And it's easy to point out too, Dan Campbell's struggles for the first year and a half as Lions head coach. All they did was lose, and then one day, midway through his second season, they won. I think it was 6 of their last 8 or 7 of their last 9 games, whatever it was, and they almost made the playoffs. So, Aaron Glenn has kind of pointed to that on several occasions. Like, listen, it takes a while to kind of get things going, and Jets fans are tired of hearing it, and I don't blame them. They haven't been to the playoffs. They have the longest playoff drought in pro sports, tied with the Sabres in the NHL, the longest playoff drought. So, Jets fans are tired of hearing the same old song. I get it. But patience is kind of required at this point. I think Darren Muji is a sharp GM. And I think finally the Jets have the right guys running the show here. It's just going to take some time for that to finally come to fruition, unfortunately.
I think that draft cap that they got from those Gardner Williams trades should help a lot. Now let's talk about the rest of the sports scene in New York, Ryan, because there's a lot going on right now. We'll start with the Knicks. They're 5-3. They got a nice win against Minnesota. They play the Nets in a couple of days. We talked about it here. So how do you think they look so far with new head coach Mike Brown?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there was some growing pains with Mike Brown, but then they came out and put up 137 points against the T-Wolves. And the thing that I like, if I'm a Knicks fan, is that the starters are not playing nearly as many minutes as they were under Tom Thibodeau, with the goal of keeping these guys fresher for the playoffs. And that was always the knock. You guys know him from Chicago. That was always the knock on Tibbs, that he's just playing his starters into the ground. So many minutes. I mean, they would be up 15 with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and all the starters are still in the game. And it's just like, what are you doing? And that would just drive Knicks fans crazy. And it wasn't like he had a ton of playoff success to kind of back it up, even though they did make the conference finals. But, I think the Knicks front office felt Tom Thibodeau took them as far as he could take them. And now Mike Brown, who doesn't, he doesn't have a great track record, I would say, as a head coach, but he's certainly had some winning campaigns with Sacramento and Cleveland. They're hoping his fresh offensive approach can help unlock another gear with these guys and keep the starters fresh, with the hopes of winning an Eastern Conference that, frankly, is as wide open as it's been in a long time.
Speaking of Mike Brown's offense, Ryan, of course, I watched the weekend series. They split with the Bulls, and watching the Knicks, and I did watch that game last week against Milwaukee on national television. I noticed that the Tibbs offense had Jalen Brunson with the ball in his hands. With this Mike Brown offense, at least early on, the ball is not in Jalen Brunson's hands as much. It seems like they're starting to move. The offense has to move, like the old head coach Larry Brown used to say with Iverson. The ball has to move around for your teammates and for you to give yourself a better chance to score. Talk to us about Jalen Brunson's new role in the offense.
Yeah, I mean, listen, having him on
if the Knicks can be consistent all year long.
Absolutely. Keeping him off the ball keeps him fresh. He doesn't have the same responsibilities of, bringing the ball up the court, sometimes facing a trap, full court pressure sometimes. It's a little easier for him to wear down. and he's still a very rugged player, obviously. But playing him off the ball kind of, eases his responsibilities a little bit and keeps him fresher for late in the game when he needs to take over the game because he's their best closer. And in turn, just kind of adds to that thought process of, well, the less strenuous minutes he's playing here early in the season will only benefit him towards the end of the season when they hope to be in the NBA Finals for the first time in 26 years. So I definitely understand the thought process behind it. And they want to get out and run more under Mike Brown, where Tom Thibodeau's offense was very, very half-court based. In terms of time per possession, the Knicks were towards the bottom of the NBA and taking the longest amount of time during a 24-second clock to get off their shot, where now with Mike Brown, they're getting off, I think, the shots like an average of 5 seconds sooner per possession. So the ball, to your point, Sidney, is moving around a lot better. And frankly, they've been a lot more fun to watch because of it. So Mike Brown is slowly but surely implementing his system. I mean, we're barely 10 games into the season, so there's still a lot of time for growth in that regard. But the early returns outside of those very early struggles, we're starting to kind of see them turn the corner a little bit. And Knicks fans are excited about it, as well they should be.
And I'm sure Mikal Bridges is very happy too. I'm guessing. So
No
he's
doubt.
in a lot of minutes. The Rangers. Going into hockey for a second here. The Rangers, they lost another tough one, being shut out in Carolina. They're in last place in their division. What's going on with the New York Rangers, Ryan?
I mean, I'll tell you, they can't win at home. They're winless in 6 games at home. They've been shut out in 4 of 6 games at the Garden, which is crazy to even think. Only one other team in NHL history has been shut out in 4 of their 6 games, home games, to start a season. So they're reaching like unprecedented territory here in terms of their ineptitude at the Garden, which typically is one of the loudest arenas in all of hockey and certainly a great home ice advantage, but they have not been able to take advantage thus far. And that, to me, has been the biggest issue with Mike Sullivan. I mean, Artemi Panarin, a lot of people are pointing at him. He hasn't really gotten off to a good start. But, again, it's early. It's a new coach trying to implement his system. We're barely a month into the season. So the hope is that there's going to be some growing pains here that they'll eventually come out of. But to be fair, the early signs have not been good for Mike Sullivan in his new era here with the Rangers.
We hand down the home stretch for that guy, Ryan Field from ABC 7 Sports in New York City. He's hanging out here with us right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you. Let's transition over to baseball, Ryan. I'll start out with the New York Mets. Of course, Pete Alonso is a free agent. Your closer, his name escapes me for the Edwin Diaz.
Edwin Diaz
is also a free agent. Do you think Edwin Diaz? Yeah, thank you. And do you think one of both of those guys are coming back next year to Queens after missing the playoffs this year, or do you think both of them are going to greener pastures?
You know what? I could see them both moving on. I wouldn't say greener pastures, but I could definitely see them moving on to a new team. But if I'm the Mets, I mean, who are you going to get that's better? Who's going to give you those 100-plus RBIs at first base the way Pete Alonso did? Unless they feel like Kyle Schwarber can play first base and they can get him from the Phillies, which would be a win-win, bringing a guy of that caliber to your team and also, taking away a big bat from a divisional opponent. Unless they feel like Kyle Schwarber can be that guy, or they reshuffle their lineup, and they do technically need a DH now that Marte is a free agent, so they could move Schwarber in at DH and replace Pete Alonso's production in that form. But listen, he's a homegrown talent, one of the few guys in the last decade plus that's a homegrown Mets star, a fan favorite. And I think they're going to do everything in their power to bring him back. They have to, in my opinion. And the same with Diaz. He's one of the best closers in the game. I mean, good closers are hard to come by. So I don't blame Diaz for opting out of his deal to try to get more money. But I fully expect the Mets to bring both of those guys back this offseason.
Let's go to the Bronx and the Yankees. Do you see Bellinger coming back? They definitely need to address their pitching. So what do you think? What kind of moves do you think the Yankees got to do to improve in the offseason?
Well, getting Garrett Cole and Clark Schmidt back from injury will certainly help. And as you guys saw during the playoffs, the postseason, Cam Schlittler what I called the most carefully pronounced name in ABC News history, Cam Schlittler, was the guy that was a revelation against the Red Sox and against the Blue Jays. I mean, the dude was nails. For a rookie pitcher to pitch that well in the postseason. So the Yankees feel like they have something they can build around with him. And then you get Garrett Cole and Clark Schmidt back from injury. Carlos Rodon looked better this season. So the hope is they've got a nice solid 1 through 4 there. As for Cody Bellinger, it's interesting. There's been a lot of talk about him coming to the Mets. So it would be very interesting if for the second straight offseason, the Mets have taken a good player away from the Yankees. It was Juan Soto 2 off seasons ago. And if they do the same with Cody Bellinger, Mets fans would like that very much so, I can promise you.
Sticking with the Yankees, Ryan, of course, last year the Mets got to the show and lost to the Dodgers in 5 games. This year, they beat the Red Sox in the wild card series, but end up losing to Toronto, the eventual American League champions. How much pressure will it be on Yankees manager Aaron Boone for next year to get back to the World Series after literally taking a step back this year?
Listen, guys, when you play for the New York Yankees or you manage the New York Yankees, if you don't win the World Series, the season is a failure, and that's just how it goes. Those aren't fair expectations and fair standards, but that's the standard that they've set for themselves going back to the George Steinbrenner days. And now they haven't won a World Series since 2009, so they'll be going 16 years and counting by the time next season starts. Which is the second longest drought in Yankees history, World Series drought. So I think he's going to be under the normal pressure. I mean, I think fans are smart enough now that the dust has settled to know that Garrett Cole was injured, who was, a Cy Young candidate. Clark Schmidt was injured, and Aaron Judge actually had a good postseason, but they just didn't pitch well enough. And Toronto proved that they're one of the best teams in baseball. So there's no harm in losing to those guys. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, the pressure is going to be ratcheted back up for Boone and GM Brian Cashman this offseason to kind of get the Yankees back over the hump. And they were just in the World Series 2 years ago. So it's not even like it's been that big of a deal that, it's not like they're missing the postseason year in and year out. They're constantly in the playoffs. They made the World Series 2 years ago. But like I said, for Yankee fans, unless you win in October and win the whole thing, the season is going to be a failure, right or wrong.
Last minute or two with our buddy Ryan Field from ABC7 New York here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena and Sid with you. Last question for me, Ryan. St. John's, it's good to see them back, in the national prominence. Didn't have a good tournament showing last year. Where do you see them at this year?
Well, listen, their biggest problem last year for the Johnnies was outside shooting. They couldn't knock down a 3-ball. So that was the goal in the portal. They improved their shooting considerably. And I believe, according to a lot of rankings, they had the #1 portal class in the country. And now they are a top 5. They were top 5 preseason as the #5 team in the country for the first time in school history, their highest ranking ever for the Johnnies. So we've been talking here in New York. This is arguably their most anticipated season in school history. They have one of the greatest coaches of all time. All the preseason rankings, all the preseason love, if you will. They have 3 guys who are up for Naismith Player of the Year that are on the preseason watch list, including Zuby Ejiofor. So the Johnnies are loaded, and if they don't make a deep run in March, the season will be a disappointment because they certainly have the horses to get there. And Pitino has been trying to downplay these expectations, but if you know Rick Pitino, he is as excited as he's ever been about a team like this year's St. John's basketball team, and rightfully so.
All right, we'll see how the St. John's squad do this year for the upcoming 2025-2026 season. Ryan, before we let you go, first of all, thank you for joining us as always on the program. Great job, as always, with your insight on New York sports and more. Before we let you go, where can people find you online and on social media?
Yeah, you guys can get me on Twitter, Ryan Field ABC, which is also my Instagram handle, Ryan Field ABC. I host our Bachelor podcast, which LaKeena is a big fan of for ABC. So, you can stream our nightly sportscasts at 6 and 11 on abc7ny.com. So there are a lot of places to find me, and always a pleasure to join you guys here talking New York and Chicago sports.
Love it. We're definitely doing this again too, Ryan. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Look forward to it. Take care.
All right, you too. All right, so that was ABC 7 New York's Ryan Field joining us here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. All right, Sid, let's take a quick break. Of course, we got to go Christine Manika from KXRB on deck. NFL Week 10 picks and so much more. So stay right there.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
All right.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the Hashtag Football Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
That's our last segment of the show for today and for the week. So, you have any last minute questions or comments of any of the topics that we have discussed thus far in today's show? You can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago.
All right, so let's get right to it. Let's not waste any more time. She is our girl from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's the one, the only Miss Christine Manika. Hey, Christine, what's up?
Hi.
Yay!
Doing good. How about you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm currently making some brownies right now. So if you hear a ding, that's what it is in like 11 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, oh,
Just
look, we're
won't
doing
burn
this
the
live, so
kitchen.
I know.
I know. Okay, well, I know you're a little pressed for time, Christine. So we're going to get right to it. We won't talk about the Broncos Raiders game, 10-7. So if you had the under, you might have a good start. A good start with that game. Now, for those of you who are wondering, Cincinnati, Dallas, Kansas City, and Tennessee. Those are your teams on bye. So adjust to your fantasy teams accordingly. And well, it looks like Christine, you and Sid are now tied because with your 8 points and Sid only had 6 wins
I
last
got
week.
9 wins.
Oh yeah, 9. Oh, well, that means you're leading then. You're leading then now. You're leading.
I have 9 wins.
All right, so you're up now. Well, you're up a game now then. Since let me adjust it. Yep. Yeah, so you're up a game now on Sid. I'm behind both of y'all. I'm 3 games behind you and 2 games behind Sid. So yeah, so only 3 games separating the 3 of us. So
Sid thought that he had the tie. No, Sid. No.
Oh yeah, I forgot to count that Chargers game that I skipped. So yeah, I forgot to count that
We
one.
still have a long way to go, young ladies, so it's not over.
All right, let's get right to it. The NFC South. You got the Saints and the Panthers. Sid, you start this one.
Saints and Panthers. All right, the Saints are the worst team in football. The Panthers, they gave Green Bay a dose of reality with that upset win last week. Being 2 touchdown underdogs, they came back and won on the last second field goal. They favored by 5.5. I think the Saints will surprise some people and play well, but I think the surprising Panthers will walk out away with a field goal win. So I'm going with the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Panthers too. I know they're not the same Panthers as what they were last year, but it still is kind of a meh season for them. And the Saints, I don't know what to do with them. So I'm giving the Panthers the win here.
Yeah, as long as Dallas doesn't do too many, like hip thrusts that he got, because he got fined for that, doing too many of those hip thrusts. So, but yeah, I think Carolina should win this one. I think Saints will keep it close. Now, going to Germany, I skipped this one, but yeah, going to Germany for the first time ever in the NFL regular season games will be played in Berlin, Germany. This game will be exclusively on NFL Network and also on NFL Plus. You got the Falcons and the Colts. Sorry, Berlin. How you say it? I'm sorry in German, but Chrissy, you start this one.
I think it's actually going to be kind of intriguing because you never know what you're going to get with the Falcons. And right now, the Colts are looking pretty decent despite their loss last week with Pittsburgh. They're still a pretty good team. And now adding Sauce Gardner in the mix, I think that's going to be a huge asset for the Colts going forward. It's like one of their owners said, you don't want to put a Band-Aid on the problem to fix it later. You want to fix the problem now. This is why females get things done in sports, everybody. I'm just saying, I'm going with the Colts.
You mentioned the Colts had a setback last week at Pittsburgh. The Falcons, we know what they are at this point. Kirk Cousins, he's done. He's getting paid $10 million to sit on the bench with the diminished skills. That's just bad. But the Colts are the play here. They're favored by 6.5. Technically, they're the home team. I'm going with the Colts in this one.
Yeah, I think the Colts. I know that they're going to want to bounce back after the loss last week. So yeah, so I'm gonna pick the Colts for this one. I would be surprised if it's they do it handily. Now going down to Houston, you got the Jags and the Texans. This is kind of a toss-up game for me. I know that is CJ Stroud. It looks like he's going to be. I think he is going to play this week. So even with the concussion, so we'll see. So we'll see if the lingering effects will be on there. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, geez, this is a hard game to pick, folks. So this is a toss-up, but. Just because they're at home, like I said, I might regret this later. There's been a lot of things with my picks in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I guess I'll pick Houston because I don't trust Jacksonville for some reason. I just don't.
And I'm the same way, LaKeena. I don't really trust them either, but I don't trust an injured quarterback. If CJ isn't ready to come back in, I don't know why they want to make it a Miami Dolphin situation and put him in and have another risk at an injury and to make him be out for maybe a longer period. but I'm giving it to the Jags. They could have something there for this game if they play their cards right. And like I said, I just don't trust an injured CJ Stroud.
I'm going with Jacksonville here too. They barely had a win on the road last week at the Las Vegas Raiders. Congrats to Cam Little for hitting the longest field goal in NFL history, 68 yards before the end of the first half. You remember he had a 70-yarder in preseason, which didn't count. But like you guys said, I wasn't expecting C.J. Stroud to play, especially after the way he hit his head on that turf last week. You might be right, Christine. They may regret this later, but I'm giving it to the Jags only because I don't know how well C.J. Stroud is going to respond to maybe just a week after hitting his head on that turf like that. That's just very dangerous to me.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And down there in Houston, I will be, this is going to be one of those games where the Bills are back from their bye. They face the Dolphins, and Sid, you start this one.
Buffalo is favored by 8.5 points on the road. I'm taking Buffalo. No said.
Enough said here, taking Buffalo easy.
Same. Bills. Yeah, this should be now this is so moving on. This game I'm actually gonna be watching this game via this computer screen here. Baltimore. They've won a couple in a row. They face Minnesota. Christine, you start this one.
You know, I saw a crazy statistic the other day about Lamar Jackson's record in the NFC. It's like 24-3, some crazy number like that in the last couple of years. So that says something. I also like how the Vikings are playing right now too. And it's in Minnesota. You know what? I'm going to stick my neck out and say the Vikings. I don't know why. I think maybe because it's a little bit of a home advantage, but I also think it's a pretty decent team this year. It's going to be one of those surprises, I think, this week when it comes to the games.
Give Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores credit for calling a great game and stopping Jared Goff in that Detroit Lions, offense last week. J.J. McCarthy, he wasn't great, but he did enough for that Vikings offense to operate. I don't see that same success this week. Brian Flores is going to have to change his scheme a little bit to stop Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has been in a couple of games now. The Ravens are on a roll. They're favored by 4.5 points on the road. I'm going with Baltimore.
Yeah, I thought about that whole thing with Brian Flores and his defense, but I think Baltimore has had some time. They've had 10 days. They're going to have 10 days to kind of figure all that out. And I think Baltimore is getting hot at the right time. So I'm picking Baltimore. Although, look, I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota, I wouldn't say it's not saying Minnesota does win, but yeah, I'm picking Baltimore for this one, but it should be a fun one. All right. Well, our buddy Spiro Diaz will have this game for CBS. You got the Browns and the Jets, and well, the Jets, like I said, they're not. Look, they traded two of their best players. We talked about earlier, like buddy Ryan Field, Sauce Gardner, and Quentin Williams. The Browns, this could be one of those putrid ones, like 6-3 or 9-6. Again, I might regret this later, but I'm picking. Yeah, I might regret this later, but I'm going to go ahead and pick Cleveland.
I'm picking Cleveland too. I just don't see it with the Jets, especially now that Sauce Gardner is gone. Which, by the way, he was doing dances around his room apparently when he found out he got traded. If that tells you anything, I don't know what does.
Call me crazy. I'm going with the New York Jets. I don't know what Vegas is smoking.
You're
they
crazy.
Have Cleveland at a 2. Well, that's not the first time someone's called me that. Perhaps not the last, but Cleveland's favored by 2.5. Okay, they have a defense. Myles Garrett, gotcha. Offensively, Quinshon Judkins, the rookie running back of Ohio State. Yeah, he's a player, but you still have Dylan Gabriel as your quarterback. In the Jets, they're in a fresh start. The guys that didn't want to be there, they're out. They're playing with fresh energy. Now I think they're going to play well enough to win. I'm not saying they're going to score 50 points, no, but I think the Jets will hold their own, and they should be able to beat the Browns. So I'm going with the New York Jets here.
Shit, we'll see if it's another good one like that Cruz had in the last few weeks. Should be an interesting one here. I'm going to watch this one via this computer screen. You got the Bucks and the Patriots. Now, the Bucks, of course, are coming off a bye. I know Mike Evans, I think he's still out.
Me too.
Yeah, so the Patriots, look, that defense, Drake May, but this is going to be a decent defense in the Bucs they're going to be facing. Again, this might be another one of these picks where I might regret it later, but I'm picking Tampa. I guess only because they're at home.
I'm picking Tampa too, and the way that I'm seeing it as this is the battle of the MVPs because you have Drake May, Baker Mayfield, both having great seasons. Mike Vrabel, potentially the coach of the year, if not one of the top candidates for that. So I think this is going to be a really good game. And yeah, because it's at home, I'm going to go with the Bucks. And again, even without Mike Evans, I said this earlier, they still know how to win a game without him. And I think that's basically because of Baker.
I think that New England's going to keep this close, but I just can't get enough to jump on the other side. So I'm going with Tampa Bay here. Like you said, they've been dealing with the injuries all year long. And Baker, as you mentioned, Christine, is playing at a MVP type level. They're favored by 2.5 points at home. I think this is going to be closer than what people think. I'm going with Tampa here.
Should be a good one. Then they're in Tampa now to the 3:00 games. And those of us here in Chicago will get this game since Fox got the doubleheader and this was single header on CBS, Bears game at noon. But it should be a good one, I guess. Cardinals off that big win on Monday night. They face Seattle, and look, Jacoby Brissett from here on out, at least for right now. Yeah, Kyler Murray is on IR. Christine?
I like Sam Darnold still. I like what the Seahawks are doing, and Sam Darnold has been looking really for the Seahawks. If any, I don't know if he would get comeback player of the year because technically he was the backup for the Vikings last year. So he could get comeback player of the year, I think. And what Jacoby Brissett, you can't deny that he's a really good backup quarterback. Now, how he would be if he was in the starting position, I don't know. I think he would get scrutinized a little bit more. And again, I just like what the Seahawks are doing. It's tough to play in Seattle, so I'm giving it to the Seahawks.
I'm going with Seattle here. They're favored by 6.5 points at home.
Yeah, Seattle, I think they're just too good. So yeah, I'm keeping it short and sweet. Just picking the Seahawks here now. I'll be watching this game because this will be the game of the week, I guess, on this computer here. You got the Rams and 49ers. Sid?
Christine's guy, Tom Brady, will be calling this game for Fox and America's game of the week. The Rams are favored by 4.5 points on the road. I know that the 49ers, they beat the halfless New York Football Giants on the road last week. The Rams, as I said, in my opinion, they're the best team in the NFC. Now, next to Detroit, I think they're slightly better than Detroit. The 49ers, as you mentioned, Christine, over the course of the season, head coach Kyle Shanahan has been getting done with guys in and out of the lineup. I think this is going to be a closer game than what people think. I'm sticking my neck out there. Christian McCaffrey will lead the way against that tough Rams defense. I'm going with the 49ers in a slight upset at home.
Yeah, I was kind of going back and forth. Obviously, it's great that Tom's going to be on his home turf, originally from that area, cheering for San Francisco for his entire childhood, pretty much. But I think the Rams just have it. When Stafford is on, he's on, and he's got a lot of good weapons with him still. And with the 49ers, again, no doubt that they're another good team. And with McCaffrey, Kittle, Purdy, it's the battle of California, and California, I think, is showing their best show right now. But I do think the Rams are going to take this one on the road.
Yeah, I'm with you, Christine. I got the Rams as well. This was another game I was also back and forth on. It's definitely a toss-up game. I feel like, would I be surprised if San Francisco wins this game? And no, because look, that defense, Robert Saleh. I mean, I think a lot of those guys ready, coming at Stafford, so he's going to be prepared. But I think the Rams defense, they're young, but they're very mighty. So yeah, I think they'll do just enough to slow down Mac Jones. In that offense, and maybe Christian McCaffrey. So it could be a close one, but I think the Rams will win this one. So, but it should be a great one out there in the Bay Area, Santa Clara. Now, most of us here in our region will give this game the Lions and the Commanders. Well, it was like Jaden Dale's good. The good news is he did avoid the serious elbow injury. Thank goodness. Dan Quinn's probably breathing a sigh of relief there. But yeah, I think the Lions are just too good. I feel like, and yeah, I think this is going to be one of those games where this is going to be a get right game for Detroit. So I'm picking the Lions.
It's definitely going to be a get right game for them. And I just don't see it in the Commanders this year. And I think they still have a way to go. I still think that Jaden Daniels even has a way to go, regardless of what happened last year. In my opinion, with Jaden Daniels, I think he just got lucky, especially with the Hail Mary and Stevenson messing around with the fans and whatnot. I think he still has a way to go. And that's why I'm picking Detroit here. They're the stronger team.
Yeah, Detroit got embarrassed last week at home against Minnesota, their division rival. Jaden Daniels will be on the shelf for a while. Marcus Mariota, if the Lions are focused, they'll have Marcus Mariota on happy feet mode. So with that being said, the Lions are favored by 7.5. I'm going with Detroit.
All right, your Sunday night game here. You've got a good one, another good one out there in Los Angeles with the Chargers as they host the Steelers. Sid, you start this one.
Yeah, the Steelers looked impressive last week, upsetting the Colts at home. The San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles, as we call them on this show, they got back on track last week, beating a half-ass Tennessee Titans team. I know conventional logic is supposed to say, well, go with the Steelers. I still don't trust their running game. Aaron Rodgers, I know the Chargers are injured. I know Joe Alden is injured on the offensive line for the Chargers, but I think Harbaugh is going to bring that physicality that Aaron Rodgers is not ready for. And with that being said, I'm going with the Chargers. They're favored by 2.5 points at home.
I'm going with the Chargers too. Jim Harbaugh knows how to deal those heavy punches, and he knows how to play a hard, fast game. Exactly what you said, and I trust his judgment. I trust Justin Herbert more than I do Aaron Rodgers, and I'm sticking with the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Like the Chargers as well. Look, I think that defense for the Chargers. Look, I know they've lost a couple of their tackles. They've lost Joe out for the foreseeable future. So that O-line might be an issue might see a lot of, Justin Herbert, happy feet mode, but that defense for the Chargers, that's very physical. Khalil Mack, loves playing against Aaron Rodgers, so he might have a couple of sacks. He might have his best game this season too against the Steelers. So we'll see. Now, all right, Monday Night Football. We'll see if YouTube TV and Disney get their acts together, because this is actually a big matchup with all the injuries to the Packers. Tucker Kraft's out for the year, and the Eagles. Christine?
I like the Eagles, and that's just because Tucker Kraft was a big part of their offense. He was more than just a tight end. He was a blocker. He was a receiver. If he needed to be a passer, he could do that. He was just one of those multi-talented athletes coming right from the state of South Dakota, mind you, near the reservation area out west. Proud South Dakota kid he is, and I know they're proud of him up in his hometown. And the Eagles, they got a little South Dakota in them with a little jackrabbit. His name's slipping my mind. I don't know why it's slipping my mind right now. The other wide receiver, I don't know, Dallas Goedert. That's it. I knew that I was going to remember a Dallas Goedert. And then with Saquon Barkley, you still have a confident Jalen Hurts, and I just think it's going to be. It could be a tough game, but it could also be a close game at the same time. I think both teams will keep it interesting, but I do think the Eagles will pull it out at the end.
Jordan Love has not had the greatest season, despite his statistics: 3 interceptions to 13 touchdown passes. Did you see that performance last week against a underrated Carolina team? That Packers offense didn't wake up to the fourth quarter. I don't trust that. And as LaKeena always says, Vegas knows something we don't. Remember, early in the week, LaKeena, this game started at 3.5 Packers and went to 2.5. Now, as we stand here on November 7th, 3 days before the game, it stands at Green Bay at 1.5 points. I'm not going to fall for that nonsense. Philadelphia is to play here. I'm going with the Eagles. It's going to be a close physical game. The Eagles, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, people wanted to write them off before they went and did what they did to the Minnesota Vikings. See the same scenario here. I don't know what people were smoking, talking about, oh, Green Bay should be the better team against Philadelphia. Philadelphia has had some time off from their last game. They'll be refreshed. Jalen Hurts is going to perform big. Saquon Barkley, I think this is going to be a get-right game for him. I'm going with Philadelphia on the road.
Yeah, remember, folks, they're coming off a bye. Talk about Philadelphia. So, yeah, so they're going to be fresh and ready. And, yeah, I think Saquon Barkley will have his best game of the season. Now, up to the beloved as the Bears host the Giants. I got the injury report right here, friends. Well, DeAndre Swift is now questionable because of that personal. I think there was some personal stuff, personal reasons and stuff for that. Also, that groin injury. TJ Edwards, he's out. Dominic Robinson, he's out, and so is Josh Blackwell. But I don't think they're not going to need those guys against a hapless Giant squad. We talked about it with our buddy Ryan from ABC7 New York earlier, and they should be able to win this game handily. I'm talking about the Bears, but again, you never know with these guys. So I am picking the Bears, but. If we were doing confidence picks, I would probably have like a 3 or a 4. That's just how I feel about this Bears squad. But carry on.
LaKeena, you gotta have more confidence in this team. Oh my goodness! I mean, look, I saw the highlights of the game. I had to be at an event during game time. But my goodness, did they put on a show. At first, I was so defeated watching it, seeing that 99-yard touchdown run at the first drive of the game from the special teams of the Bengals. I thought there is no way that we could win this game now, that the Bears could win this game. But they put on a show, and so did the Bengals. I mean, in the words of Sid, Daddy Flacco had a game at 40 years old. Like, he was balling out, and that says a lot about what he can still do in his capabilities. And I think he's kind of turned that team around a little bit. It was very competitive throughout the entire game. There really wasn't any strong leaders in that game. It just kept on going back and forth, and you didn't know what exactly was going to happen during each play. I love the energy that the Bears had. I love Ben Johnson's trick plays, the baby daddy. I mean, getting Tyson Bagent in there when he was, being a little bit of a diversion. I thought that was genius. Manungai, he is my guy, is what a lot of people have been saying, and I love that for him. And I think with Manungai and then with Swift, whenever he gets back, I think those are solid running backs. I think you have your running backs right there, but it depends on who you want to start. Right now, I think Manungai is putting in a strong bid to have him be the starter, and we'll see what he can do this weekend. With the Giants, yeah, you have Jackson Dart, who's honestly, he's really good. Like, he's really turning this Giants team around, and probably the reason why Coach Brian could be keeping his job for next season. Without Cam Scatterboo, though, I don't think the offensive line is going to be able to do much for Jackson Dart. And with that Bears defense, getting beefed up a little bit here, I think that's going to cause some issues for the Giants too. And it's a home game at Soldier Field. It's very tough to play in Chicago, and I'm picking the Bears. You got to be with this team. They're so fun to watch. They're stressful. They give me heart palpitations every week, I swear, but it's kind of fun to watch how they work with each other.
Hopefully the Bears will give fans a easy time to watch the game on Sunday for 3 hours. But I'm getting this weird feeling that it might be what happened, not last week, but with the New Orleans Saints. And what I mean by that was this was the same scenario a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, might add you, that the Saints were still the worst team in the NFL. The Bears barely beat them by 12 points in. You just get that. I just get that feeling. Maybe it's just me, and that's okay. But I'm with Christine on this one in terms of the Bears defense. Montez Sweat slowly, surely coming on a sack in each of his last 3 games. This should be a breakout game for him. I want that Bears defense to, even though they struggle against scrambling quarterbacks, I want them to put Jackson Dart on his is back. I want to see another 2-3 turnover game. Offensively, let Kyle Manika cook. I want to see Colston Loveland some more, especially if Cole Kmet does not play. And I want to see Caleb Williams take another step. He had 280 yards passing and 3 touchdown passes last week. I want to see him do that or perhaps much better this coming Sunday. This should be an easy win for the Bears. I won't be surprised if they win by 4 points or less, but regardless of that, this should be a win for Chicago. So I'm going with the Bears. The Bears are currently favored by 4.5 points.
All right, and that's your schedule for this week of 10 in the NFL. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, our girl Christine Manika from KXRB. A couple of quick sports media news, real quick. Of course, this is not a big shocker, but Fox Sports announced that Mark Sanchez has been fired, and Drew. Yep, and now Drew Brees has been hired. He'll start next week for Fox. He'll be paired up with Chicago's very own and Bulls announcer Adam Amin. And of course, he was doing First Take. I'm talking about Brees so now he's no longer with First Take. Now that the Fox gig is now official, thoughts?
It's like you said, it's not surprising after all that drama and what clearly needs to be figured out with Mark Sanchez. It's no surprise that he got let go. I'm excited for Drew Brees. I think this is going to give him a good chance going back in the analyst booth. I know his first time around, they didn't really give him much of an opportunity. So it's great to have guys like Greg Olson, Tom Brady, now Drew Brees in the mix for the Fox Sports team. It shows the caliber, and it shows the legends that still know what they're talking about a little bit,
Yeah, I kind of echo what Christine said when Drew Brees retired and started out with Sunday Night Football in the studio. He wasn't quite ready just yet. I know he did some games on NBC with the college football world, but I think he'll be more prepared this time, and I think he'll be better for it. So we'll see what happens starting next week.
Yeah. And I think we talked about when he got let go the first time over in NBC. I think he just needed some seasoning. And look, he's been sounding a lot better. He's been doing a lot of studio stuff. He's done stuff for First Take. So he is actually a very quiet, a pretty smart guy. So I think he's showing that now. So yeah, you got somebody like Adam and me who will bring that energy out of his analysts. So yeah, I think he'll do just fine there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Like you guys said, next week when he starts fully.
He's a Purdue guy. Of course he's smart.
Right. Yes, exactly. So true.
All right, Christine, the offseason has officially started for Major League Baseball. Of course, the LA Dodgers are back-to-back champions. The Toronto Blue Jays, this time last week, they were heading home leading the series 3-2. Of course, the Dodgers came back and won both games 6-7 on a roll. Thoughts on the Dodgers winning their back-to-back World Series titles? And on the flip side for Toronto, obviously this was a heartbreaking losing both games at home, especially the way they did in Game 7 last Saturday night. You were 2 outs away, give up a tying home run to Miguel Rojas, and of course Will Smith, no, not the rapper, but the catcher in the game-winning home run in the 11th inning. Thoughts?
This game brought baseball back. It will probably go down as one of the best World Series to date. Definitely one of the best in this decade. And it just kept on going back and forth. You never really knew who was going to win. They kept it interesting. You had multiple inning games for all intents and purposes. They played 8 games, not 7 games. They played 8 games with that extra 18-inning match. That's what it came down to. They played 8 games. And then to add in an extra inning, or 2 extra innings in the Game 7, it was such a rush, and it broke my heart for Toronto just because they were right there. It was literally in their hands, and to come up short last second like that, absolutely heartbreaking. But it says a lot about the resilience of the Dodgers team. Yeah, they were not the best this season. They did not have one of the better records out of anybody in the postseason, and Toronto was always at the top of those boards during the regular season. So I think they'll be back. I don't think this is the last for Toronto, but it definitely is heartbreaking, and it will be that way for a little bit. But again, what a series.
Yeah, 26 million tuned in for Game 7. So They definitely benefited for it to being a really great series. So if you're a Fox, you should be very proud of those ratings. Now, real quick, I know you got to eject Christine, so yeah, we'll make this quick. We do this every year with our MLB awards after the World Series. Now we'll start with the rookie awards. Yeah, you got Nick Kurtz from the AL. You got Nick Kurtz from the A's, Jacob Wilson for the A's as well, and you got Roman Anthony from the Red Sox.
Gotta go with my second team, the Red Sox. Roman Anthony.
Sid?
I didn't hear that first part of your question, LaKeena.
Oh, the AL rookie of the year guys. Nick Kurtz, Jacob Wilson, both from the A's, and Roman Anthony from the Red Sox.
Probably Roman Anthony for me.
Yeah, same. He was very impressive so far this year. On the National League side, you've got Drake Baldwin for the Braves, Caleb Durbin for the Brewers, or Cade Horton for the Cubs.
Cade Horton for the Cubs.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
and I think the Cubs definitely missed him because he didn't pitch in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. Even though this is a regular season award, but yeah, he was lights out for the Cubs. Hopefully, he can build on that from next year. Now, you got the Cy Young Award winners. We'll start in the AL. You got Hunter Brown from the Astros, Garrett Crochet from the Red Sox, or Tariq Skubal from the Tigers.
Garrett Crochet. As much as I hate to see a White Sox player doing well, it pains me. Garrett Crochet.
I'm going with Tariq Skubal.
I agree. I think Skubal too. I think from last year he was able to build on that, and they kind of showed you why that the Tigers were able to hang on and get a playoff spot. So yeah, I'm picking him as well, Skubal. On the National League side, you got Paul Skeens from the Pirates, Yoshinobu Yamamoto for the Dodgers, or Christopher Sanchez of the Phillies.
Yoshimoto.
Yeah, I'll probably go with Yamamoto too.
Yeah, same. I also make it a sweet Yamamoto.
Yamamoto. I said Yoshimoto. Whoops.
Well, look, they might be able to market that to the Dodgers. He's out there in Los Angeles. Why not? Okay, managers on the AL: John Schneider from the Blue Jays, Stephen Voigt from the Guardians, or Dan Wilson for the Mariners. I'll pick my guy Dan Wilson from the Mariners.
Just because my heart still hurts for Toronto, I'll go with Toronto.
John Schneider. Okay, Sid.
I'll go with Dan Wilson.
All right. On National League side, you got Pat Murphy for the Brewers, Rob Thompson for the Phillies, or Terry Francona from the Reds.
Pat Murphy for the Brewers.
Yeah, same here. Especially the way they got on that winning streak from the end of May and went through August. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I'm picking Pat Murphy as well, making it sweet. Plus, he's a really nice guy too. Even though he's more of he's very intense, but he's like I've seen him. I've heard him. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever interview and talk to. So yeah, he's a really, really good guy and a great manager. All right, now last but not least, the MVP awards. You got for the AL, you got Jose Ramirez from the Guardians, Aaron Judge for the Yankees, or Cal Raleigh of the Mariners.
Cal Raleigh. You got to go with Cal Raleigh.
Sid?
The big dumper.
Yeah, I'll say might as well.
The big dumper.
Yeah. So you might as well make it this week. Yeah, I'll give it to the big dumper too. Yeah, might as well make it this week. Mr. Raleigh from the Mariners. I think he'll be the first Mariner to win. I think since Ken Griffey Jr. back in the early 2000s. So yeah, it will be a long time since a Mariners won AL MVP. Now, National League side, this is going to be interesting. You got Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, Ohtani from the Dodgers, Soto from the Mets, or Kyle Schwarber for the Phillies.
After the performance he put on for the series, you got to go Shohei. They're really, after that performance, we're never going to see that again in baseball. No one has seen that in a century. It's just crazy how he can pitch, how he hits. It doesn't get any better than that.
I'm going with Schwarber. He had over 54 home runs, I believe, this year. We know the kind of power he has. We've seen it here in Chicago early in his career with the Cubs. He's bounced around a couple other places. He's finally found a home in Philadelphia. If you're a Phillies fan, you hope they keep him this offseason. But I'm going with Schwarber here.
Yeah, I'm going with Schwarber too. I just think that he definitely kind of showed you why, that he's probably getting a nice little chunk of money somewhere else, whether he stays with the Phillies or he goes somewhere else. So we'll just see what happens. So yeah, and of course you can watch all these the announcement of all these awards, all next week on MLB, starting with the Rookie of the Year awards.
All right, wrapping up things here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, LaKeena here with you. One last question from me, Christine, regarding baseball. I know we're going to ask you this again in a few weeks, but since we're starting officially the off season, what are your thoughts about Luis Robert Jr.'s $20 million option being picked up by Chris Getz and the White Sox?
Does it surprise me? No. Do I hope that he can stay healthy? Yes. At the same time, I think they're looking for a face of the franchise, whether it's Luis or it could be Montgomery. It's something that the White Sox would do. So very expected, but makes me scared at the same time.
Well, I think well, look, I think to be fair, like Sid said earlier, I mean, look, they don't have really anybody else right now. So yeah, you might as well see what you get with Robert Jr. And look, if he's somebody that you want to build on, down the line, maybe. If not, you can probably try and see if you can, try to flip him for somebody. I think just as long as, like you said earlier, as long as Chris Getz isn't wishy-washy about it. So.
Because my fear is that Jerry Reinsdorf, we all know that he's not going to open up the pocketbook a lot. But if he doesn't open up the pocketbook at all, I think many White Sox fans, including yours truly, I think I can speak on you and your behalf, Christine, on this, that we'll be very disappointed. This team is expected to take another step next year. You mentioned about Colson Montgomery, that the year that he had, Kyle Teal, Edgar Carroll, that's QUERO for you folks scoring at home. Shane Smith, the Rule 5 draft pickup, he had a great year last year, becoming an all-star as a rookie. So they got to improve. And Assistant GM Josh Barfield of the Sox said that he wants to improve this bullpen. Reinsdorf, how much money he's going to give them, give them this offseason to maneuver, I don't know. But regardless of that, GM Chris Getz is going to have to, in my opinion, be creative and make some moves this offseason. Do I think this team is going to really flip? No, but you got to improve this team because 3 straight 100 loss seasons is unacceptable. It's time to turn the page.
All right, going to be very interesting to see what happens here now. Anything else before you disperse, folks?
I'm good.
All right. Oh, you can follow me at Keena
Ready
McGee
for another Bears victory.
Yes.
Yes. You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at CManika_KXRB.
All right. And of course, you can catch Second City Sports anytime, anywhere. You can catch replays of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellas, and so much more. So if you miss an interview, miss our picks, don't worry. You can catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on the Sports Zone Chicago Facebook and YouTube channels.
And we will provide. All right, for LaKeena, for Christine, this has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Have a great weekend, everybody, and let's bear down for another great Bears victory over those half-assed New York Giants.
And of course, we also want to thank our buddy Ryan Field from ABC 7 New York for joining us, as well as our girl Christine Manika from
Yes,
KXRP.
I forgot that.
Yes. So no worries. But yeah. So yeah, enjoy the sports and look, stay warm and dry. Since it's going to be snowing in some places.
Don't
weekend.
say that.
Shh. I'm trying not to be quiet. Also, yeah, just trying to be quiet about that. But yeah. So yeah, enjoy the sports, folks. So for Sid and Christine, I've been LaKeena with Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you guys next week.
Go Bears! Holla!